All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's version of the Coach Shawn Witten Show. I'm Stacy Street along with my partner, Tony Briggs. Tonight we're joined with Coach Witten. We're going to talk about last week's game against Greenville and tonight's big contest as the Cyclones travel once again to the campus of ETSU to take on the Daniel Boone Trailblazers in a very important game for the Cyclones. Coach Witten, let's recap the Greenville game a little bit. We loaded up the bus and went down there and took on the number one team in the state. And just give us your assessment of last week's game.
Well, I think, they proved why they're number one team in the state, just by how hard they play, that they physically dominate you, try to dominate you on each and every snap. And they still got some good weapons, our defense did a great job all the way throughout the game, of hanging on, hanging tough as amount of snaps we played. But, when you reflect on the game, I've watched it about 30 times, and every time I watch it, you just see how physically imposing they are, just not just wanting to beat you, they're wanting to dominate you on each and every snap. And so, didn't have anything consistent offense to help us get anything going. Our defense played tremendous, with the fact that, in our two contests, Stacy, 17-7 and 21-0, we're not getting blown out. We're playing tough. Our defense has played twice as many snaps as our offense, and just super proud of the way that we had two plays on a 2nd and 15, and then, a 4th and 20, where we just didn't do a great job in coverage, allowed them to make some big plays there. But overall, it's a tremendous effort by our defensive group. And when it's all said and done, beating Elizabethton is a big deal to them. And you can see that after the game. It's a big deal. And they did a great job, coming after us.
Talk to your brother Ron last week going to the game, and you got 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids here. The first 3 games of the season, you play you start the season off here at Citizens Bank Stadium, packed out house against the Science Hill Hilltoppers. You go last week to face the number one team in the state in a very hostile environment in Greenville. And tonight, you take on a team with a lot of momentum, and because of lighting issues, it's going to be played on the college campus at ETSU on a very nice field. That setup is for this question. The Cyclones in the last few years have played on a lot of big stages, but these underclassmen and even the seniors who played supporting roles but not starters, how do you get them to say, okay, it doesn't matter what stage we're on, you got to play our system? What kind of challenge is that?
Well, I think, especially reflecting on the last 2 games is, even though we've been on top the last 3 years, is, the foundation starts is our program is built on being an underdog. We got to get back to we got to develop that underdog mentality, and the fact that we got to play with a chip on our shoulder, an extra edge. We got to have something to prove every time we take the field, and there's a different approach to, people are coming after you. We got to be hungrier than we've been the last couple of weeks, and so I think that the Greenville game put a lot of things in perspective. Of we play hard, Greenville plays harder. We want to win. Greenville wants to dominate, and you saw that every time you watch the film. But our message this week has really been, developing that underdog mentality, laying that foundation of each and every year. It starts from the foundation. You got to work your way back up, and so we got to be a different team tonight. We got to be, we got to do a better job of creating that mindset, creating that edge. I think you see players play with an edge, but we got to do it collectively as a unit. Typically our roster is never going to be as bigger, faster, stronger, or maybe talented as other rosters. We've always been an underdog mentality. That's the way my grandfather coached, and so when you put on that orange and black, there's something you got to prove in each and every night, and that's what we got to get back to.
And, you know, you've got a system now, and that system doesn't change from year to year, and you got expectations. You know, we know this program is built on grit and grind, hand in the dirt. We know all those. Those things are easy when you're on top.
Yeah.
A little harder when you got 0-2 looking at you. How do you have to approach that differently with this team?
Well, you know, you don't really want to get into big slogans or cliches. I mean, it's all about the way that you got to get mindset back into work. But I think, you know, putting things in perspective of where we are, you know, where we got to get to, and sometimes you got to be willing to kind of swallow some pride a little bit. You know, have some humility a little bit in some ways, and realize collectively, you know, we're not where we need to be. You know, we got to collectively be better. We got to do our jobs. But, you know, a lot of it is, you know, I think it's the biggest thing for us is you just put on the film of Greenville and you watch those guys play against us. You know, they were blocking Brad harder in the third quarter than they were in the first. The way that they had a core group of guys that were flipping over back from O to D, special teams, the way that they were a little bit more well-conditioned than we are, you know, just kind of setting the standard, you know, 63 a right tackle, flipping over and playing defensive end. I mean, they just really wanted it from a mentality standpoint, and that's not really where we're at right now. You know, we've got to kind of flip that switch and develop a mindset and you know, create an edge about us to where, you know, we got to fight for what we want. And so, you know, in order to get where we want to go, you know, we got to be willing to kind of do things a little bit different. You know, our seniors and the guys that have kind of been around, that have been a part of those teams, you know, they got to go about things different, you know. And so here's what has to happen at times. It doesn't have to work against each other. That you can be a nice kid and a good teammate and have character and integrity, but you can be a different person when you step on the field. You got to play physical. You can be nasty, and that's what we've got to do. It doesn't have to be opposite each other. You can be that. It can run hand in hand, and so that's what we've got to develop all the way through. You know, the core of our team.
You know, getting back to the Greenville game, you was talking a couple of busted plays. You pick up a busted play, quarterback scrambles, safe run back, or the corner comes up, hitting for a touchdown. Throw it back across the middle, safety vacates. You take those two plays away, it's a 7-0 ball game. Defense is improving week after week. Offense, even though to the naked eye and to the general public, didn't look like it improved from Science Hill to Greenville. But going back and looking at the film, what did you see as far as some little improvements offensively?
Well, I mean, I think offensively the biggest thing for us is, you know, we've always had that mentality in the last couple of years is every time we touch the ball, we want to fight for 5. And we got to push to fight for 5. I think over the last 2 weeks of our games, you know, we've not done a good enough job as we've been running the ball just right into the teeth of the defense. You know, we've not made the defense have to play, you know, sideline to sideline or cover the whole field. You know, there was spots up against Johnson City where we were just a block here, a crease here for making plays. But, you know, we're not physical on the edge. You know, we're not able to run by people. You know, we're not getting the defensive lines. You know, the linebackers kind of move a little bit, and you know, that's just kind of been tough. And so, you know, we're searching for answers. We're searching for an identity. And, you know, with where we're at, when you play Science Hill and Greenville right out of the gate, your season can go a lot of different ways, you know. And this year it's been tough, you know, 2-0, 1-1, and now we're 0-2. You know, things kind of haven't, you know, gone the way that our summer went, the way our preseason went. You know, not being able to move the ball at all, you know, it's kind of just been head-scratching because we've been able to have some success in our preseason. So, we just get back to work, you know, see if we can do things a little bit better and work the guys. You know, we tried to move some people around. You know, that kind of didn't work. And then so, you know, we just got to see if we can find some consistency. But that's hard this week and tonight because we go against another older defense, a strong defense. And so, you know, there's great challenges because, you know, we just both teams have been really good on defense. And other than a couple drives, against Johnson City, we've basically been kind of shut out. But our guys are working, trying to create an edge a little bit. You saw us in Greenville do a little bit of motioning. We try to do that a little bit in some ways, but right now we're just not where we want to be, and we've got to see what we can do to kind of help our defense out.
Final question for this first segment before we take a break. It looks like when you go back and you watch the film from last year to this year, it looks like the front seven are playing us different than they did in the past. It seems like they're more of the front three or the front four is more of hold up and let the linebackers come through and shoot through and make the play. Is that what you're seeing, or is it just so that's just the way it happens to be?
Well, I think a lot of people's front, our front especially too, the way we've been built is, we want our linebackers to make the majority of those tackles. You want to have space eaters, gap players, guys that control their gaps and allow the linebackers who kind of, what we've been, as a play caller, what we've been able to try to do the last couple of weeks is, really you got to call the game based off where the game's kind of traveling, is the fact that we've been trying to run the ball a lot because our defense is playing twice as many snaps as we have. We've been trying to take shots down the field to get them to back up. We haven't been successful there. So we've got to do just a better job of trying to find a consistent balance. And we've had a lot of film out there on tape the last couple of years. A lot of people have played us different, over the last several years, with the running quarterback. Our identity is kind of switching a little bit. Right now the biggest problem for us is, a lot of our skill guys are turning over down to play D, flipping back over and playing O, so our big play capability is kind of limited a little bit. We've been a team over the last several years that just, we want to win time of possession, control the clock, get first downs, win field position, keep that other team on the sideline a little bit. That's what they've been doing to us. And so when we do take the field, you're trying to have quick answers and quick strikes, and a lot of time that doesn't work. So, we've tried to do a good job to try to help our defense out at times. We've been having to drive the length of the field. It's really been tough on us. So I don't think it's one guy's fault. We just got to do a better job and see what we can do to try to help out. But it's, we've played two stout defenses. We're going to play another one tonight, so it doesn't get any easier for us. And, we'll see if we can do a better job today.
That does it for our first segment before we can go into these break. Like you alluded to, we played 6A Science Hills 2-1, number 1 team 4A 3-0 Greenville, and entertaining Boone tonight another 3-0. Look at that; that's a pretty hard first three games coming out of the bat. So we'll go back to the words for our sponsors. When we come back, we'll preview tonight's huge contest against Boone on the campus of ETSU. We'll be back after these words. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coach Shawn Witten Show. Coach, another big game tonight. Boone's coming in. We've seen Boone on film. You said it earlier. Boone has every couple of years, they have a stout defense, stout offense, senior driven. They give us all they want. 2 years ago, we had to have a block punt or a blocked extra point from Parker. Still win. Last year, struggled with them a little bit here. Tell us a little bit about this Boone offense as it's coming in. Not much the defense, but more or less the offense.
Well, it's a really good Boone team, and they're always big. They do a great job, but they got two juniors on the offense. Basically the quarterback and a running back. I mean, they do a lot of motioning, a lot of pistol work, a lot of bootlegs, misdirection. Big old back that gets downhill, try to find some creases there. But they use tight ends, they use H-back. And they're probably one of their better years this year, Tony. They have some athleticism at the receiver position. They love to throw some hitches. They love to do sprint out pass. They have big play capability. And really what you see from this group is when you put on the film from 2021, it's the same group. When you put on the film 2020, it's the same group. And so they're loaded this year. They're scoring at a high pace. And they, Boone's always done a good job of it, trying to do a good job winning the physicality at the line of scrimmage.
You can bet that Coach Jenkins and his staff are not taking us lightly. They're preaching hard. They're 3-28 against us. They haven't won since 2012, where they beat us over there in game 1 of the season. Now, flip on the defensive side. What do you, as a play caller, need to do against Boone defense where you can set up a little continuity and it's like me and Stacy's alluded to, if we could just one time push it over into pay dirt, then maybe the dam breaks.
Well, they got 2 All-State defensive ends. They got an All-State linebacker. Boone's really good. Jeremy runs the defense. I mean, they're about as stout as a front seven as we faced last week or the week before. I mean, they're really good. The ends are good. They play up. They play down. They've also got they'll play a 50 front. They'll play a 40 front. They'll play cover 2. They'll play cover 3. They do a great job of just gap control, let the linebackers make a lot of plays. But, they're probably more experienced defense than we faced in the first 2 meetings of our season this year. It's going to be tough. They do have a big guy on the inside. We've tried to add some few wrinkles to, see if we can get the ball out in space a little bit, to get some movement going, to try to maybe run some short corners. But, there's no doubt we've got to find a way. We've tried to have some physical practice this week from the offensive standpoint. We've tried to work half line. We've tried to work an inside. We've tried to work ball in the perimeter. We need more of our skill guys blocking on the edge. We need more of figuring out a way to get some short passes so that we can get some yards. It's a little bit like playing Sides Hill in 2020 when they had a loaded defense. We ran the ball. We kept trying to run the ball inside, into where the teeth of defense. In 2021, we played them HSU. We attacked the edges a little bit to try to get them to open up and then try to go there. It's been difficult because people are playing press coverage against our receivers. They're daring us to throw it deep. So they're kind of suffocating our receivers. They're constantly playing the coverage. They're having one more defender than we have receivers. So if we have 2 receivers out there, they got 3 DBs. If we've got 3 receivers out there, they got 4 DBs over the top. So they're just kind of daring us to kind of do different things. So that's really tough. You saw us against Greenville in the first series. We had Mason Ball out there. We had Brad out there. We tried to go like a double H set, because Whitaker was out. So, that we went that one series, but then those guys are playing a lot of defense. We're trying to find help in some different ways. We started Kyron at a center. We tried to get some center, give us more versatility to work some center pulls. That didn't work. So, trust me, we've tried everything to get some movement. Hopefully tonight we can try to see if we can just still find some wiggle room in there.
As a former Hokie, playing Beamer ball, we know that special teams are special to your heart. Tonight, as you face probably, and Tony and I have talked about this a little bit last year, but really this year, that is probably as good a kicker, the Shrewberry kid, as you faced maybe ever. Talk a little bit about how you're going to try, not what you can do on those kickoffs, but how you're going to deal with
Well, that's a tough thing too, especially if, we were to get down or they were to score. I mean, you're going to have to go 80 yards to score. Flipping the field's going to be tough. That's been a little bit of our problem the last couple of weeks is they've been having short field. We're going to have to go the distance. It's kind of, we haven't really crossed the 50 many times, that's been extremely tough. But this kid's good. When it comes down to a field goal or things, you saw against Westridge, they took 3 short field goals and just taking the points. They got up 12-0 on Westridge. They got up 15-0 on Westridge. They went into halftime 19-0 on Westridge. I mean, they're just kind of taking easy points. The biggest factor he is on the punts. I mean, he puts those so high that, guys have dropped punts. They've kind of, it's been tough to get. We haven't created a lot of punt situations, but, he does flip the field. I mean, it's a good 55, 40-yard punts in the air. So we've been working 2 punt returners back to try to help ease that, which is big. But, you just can't allow the game to get to the fourth quarter where he can make a game-winning field goal, because he does a great job of getting the ball up, and they're tough to block. But he's about as good as kickers I've ever seen, Stacy. I mean, this is high school level. I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, there's going to be 0 chance for us to return a kick. I mean, it goes completely out of the end zone. But that's a game changer now. I mean, that's a game changer for Boone. That's an area where, you always feel like you have an edge when you're Elizabethton, but that's a plus for them.
And you talked about it a little bit in talking to Tony. Boone's been a thorn in our side for 39 years now, and set the win streak aside, it's always those tough games. And Boone always seems to have those tough games, 28-20, 25-29, somewhere there. Last week they play a Cherokee team that granted is not very good, but they hang 70 points. It's not easy to score 70 points in a high school football game. So they're about as well-rounded as a Boone team that we've seen in a very long time.
Well, they're very balanced on the offensive line. They do have the skilled kids. They got 4 or 5 of them that are seniors. They got their secondary is pretty much all seniors. You're talking about 2 kids on the defense that are juniors. You're talking about 2 kids on the offense that are juniors. The guys in the backfield. We had to, Bryson Rollins scored a touchdown with less than a minute to win the game out here last year, even coming after a loss to Greenville. So, we've got our hands full tonight. It's a great challenge. It's tough. The biggest thing we've talked about our kids this week is just it's another opportunity for us on a big stage. And, every other game they play Saturday at noon. But it's another opportunity for them to, this is just a great opportunity for the kids on our team, our program, that puts us out in front of the big crowd again. And so, our guys got to come ready to go, ready to play today. And, I feel better. I feel like our practices are more meaningful. I feel like we're getting more things accomplished. I think the messages are kind of getting home a little bit. We've had small victories, even though we're not into moral victories, when we lose, but we've showed signs in some areas, and I don't, it's not really a finger you can point on, the offensive woes, but, we just got to find some consistency. Scoring is not the biggest thing as much as it is moving the football. We've got to be able to kind of create some confidence, get back to who we are, and see if, we can throw a few wrinkles in there to help us out.
And one last thing, it's easy to sit up there in the booth. It's easy to sit up there in the stands, listen on the radio, even be on the sidelines. And, you chew a little from game 1 to game 2. You chew a little. It comes a point in time where it seems like these kids need some of their own confidence. And there comes a point in time where you just put the arm around the kid and say, come on, you can do this. And I know there's been a little bit of both.
There's a lot of coaching methods. You can get on them so to a certain point. You try to get them to respond. I'm willing to put my picture on the sleds if they have to kind of drive that sled block a little harder. But it comes back to guys got to do their job. You got to trust your teammates. If there's ever a time for us to come together, we got to be shoulder to shoulder now. And so. We've preached a lot of the motto of, like we talked about earlier, the underdog mentality. Even tonight's game, we're probably a 17-point underdog, at least a 2-touchdown underdog. And so we got to find that grit. We got to find that toughness. We're got to prove a point today. And so it's not going to be easy by no means. We've tried to do our best by blocking out the noise. And so, the thing with me is, I've got to do a better job of, my kids got to play harder, and we got to want it a little bit more. There's a disappointment in times where, we played hard, Greenville played harder. You can pop on the film and Shawn just remind them that, the playing Elizabethton's a big deal. We're going to get everybody's best shot. So, I'm proud of the way the guys have come to work every day. They're trying to respond. They're trying to do the small detail things where, things matter. We're moving in the right direction at times. We just need a big win tonight, to help us out. If we're going to win tonight, Stacy, it's going to be a 17-14 game. It's going to be a 10-7 game, 14-7 type game. We've tried to do a lot of things in practice, put our guys on to step up and make the play. Who's going to make a play? You got to be the one to do it. So hopefully our guys will do it tonight. And so, we'll see what we can do. It's going to be a tough challenge, great game against a well-coached team. This is their year to get us, and so we got to be ready for that challenge.
Coach Witten, as always, we thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate Coach Witten being here with us tonight. These things are fun and easy when you're on top. They're not as fun and easy when you're on the bottom, but as our good friend Jerry Jenkins says, Cyclones will play anybody, anywhere, anytime. That never changes. and it doesn't tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as the Cyclones travel to Johnson City for a special game this year because it's being played on the campus of ETSU. As your Cyclones now take on the 3-0 Daniel Boone Trailblazers, a 5A opponent that Cyclones have had a very good history with, and tonight we need to continue that history. So we'll come back after these words from our sponsors. Tony and I will have our pregame, and our kickoff is tonight at 7 o'clock against the Daniel Boone Trailblazers. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors on WBEJ.